Field, Indiana Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order for Wednesday, May 25th, 2016. Please note the presence of quorum.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Action item number 1 is consideration of approval of minutes from April 27th, 2016.
Move to accept.
I'll second that. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, on to action item number 2, Haven Crest Hills illicit discharge appeal.
This was up in the air whether or not it would hit the agenda today. I had discussions with Mr. Zeger over the weekend. He wanted to be present for this. This communication, and really it's up to Haven Crest to come in and defend their case of why they didn't think it was an illicit discharge. I don't know. The last correspondence I had, he was going to communicate with them that it would be pushed back a month. So that's all the information I have. Do you know any more?
It's my understanding that is anybody here from Haven Crest?
No.
That they indicated they didn't receive that notice, so that there was some expectation that somebody could show up today. And if they did, the board has the authority to either say, keep it $1,000, lower it based on whatever they would bring forth as their defense, or give them a time frame in order to pay it.
Okay.
But nobody is here, so it probably just gets tabled unless you want to make a recommendation without hearing their, hearing what they know.
So we don't know if they received notice.
They said they were out of town and did not receive the 1 month sort of notice.
Well, the last meeting, they were on the agenda last meeting as well. They didn't receive that notice because it went to the wrong address.
Okay.
So we pushed it. This is now the 3rd month in a row that it's been on the agenda.
This actually could be $1,000 per day fine, not
Correct.
just $1,000 from the time that it originally was. So we're up to like $90,000 now.
I think we've, attorney guide us here, but to me, we've made several efforts to serve notice on this.
And I can show
My
you-
feeling is that we need to proceed. If I was on that end, I would certainly be getting a hold of us to see where we were.
Were they service with certified mail? We have record of all
Yeah,
that?
we have a copy of that there.
It's here. I mean, that's what I was provided with here, so.
And if you'd like, I can go through the conditions that establish the reason for the fine, and then also the current conditions,
Yeah,
which still
please.
hasn't been rectified. So,
There you go.
There you go.
hello.
Hi.
Hi,
Please, right.
you may.
I'm Marcy Lewis with Haven Crest.
Okay, Mark. Andy Cook,
Okay.
Randy Graham.
Randy
nice to meet you.
Graham,
Hi, Randy.
we're the board today.
Okay, great.
We're just getting ready to go through your arrival's very timely. We just
Okay.
introduced it, we decided we're going through it. You've received adequate notice, and so right now, our Public Works Director is going to present the history of the subject here.
So back on December 16th of 2015, Haven Crest was fined for an illicit discharge in accordance with Ordinance 05-30. They received that letter that was mailed on December 16th. These photos here are representative of the conditions at the time. As you can see, there was standing water at the back of the property with a silt fence keeping that on that property there. The contractor, I believe, for Haven Crest removed the silt fence, cut a trench in to release the water onto private property and into the pond. That is a clear violation and disregard for our stormwater ordinance, so we fined them in accordance with that ordinance. Since then, the property has continued to develop, and the house was established, and so was the yard. The yard was stabilized to an extent. This is a picture as of 4/29, where the pond bank is still yet to be repaired.
Who owns this bank?
It would be the developer, and I believe that's Langston Development.
Okay.
So that's the information that I have, and I would open up for Haven Crest to speak to any pieces of that.
Well, first of all, how did you notify Haven Crest that they were in violation?
The erosion control inspector would have sent them this letter notifying that they were in violation.
Dated?
Dated December 16th, 2015.
And you're aware of that?
Yes.
Okay.
What happened was our concrete contractor went out to pour the patio in the backyard. And, when he got there, there was standing water, all the way up to the point where he needed to be, setting forms and so forth. And so he needed to get rid of the water in order to, form up for the concrete. He was not aware of, that would be a violation, and so he released the water so he could get that in. And I believe when I got back from our Christmas trip was when I got the letter. And so we immediately called Stacy's Excavating, which is the company that we use to do erosion control, and asked them to go out and repair it. And at the same time, I had an excavator go out and actually get dirt from the yard and go and patch that spot, which you saw in the photograph, to fill it in, to bring the dirt back up to that level where it was prior to him releasing the water. At the same time, they went ahead and excavated the yard to bring the backyard up to a level so that we wouldn't have standing water. Because what happened was, we were the first house in that development that started construction, and we had our foundation in prior to Langston having the final grade in that common area that is between the property and the lake. And so we got our foundation in, and then they excavated and did the final grade, and their grade was actually higher than our yard. And so that's how it came about that we didn't have positive drainage away, and why we ended up with standing water. So the excavator then, once we were aware of the problem, went ahead and graded the backyard and brought we brought dirt in and brought the grade up to eliminate the problem. So the picture that you saw, that dirt area, that's the dirt that we brought in to repair that. So this is the first time I've seen that photograph. It does look like we probably should seed that, but other than that, we do have grass growing in the entire yard now, and that there may be a patch there that needs seeded, it looks like. But
So this happened over the winter,
yes,
and this concrete contractor is your subcontractor.
yes,
Okay. So, but the area on the commonly owned property has not been repaired in May.
well, that depends on what you consider repair.
That doesn't look repaired to me. From the photographs before, you can clearly see that there was some type of grass. I have black and white photos here I'm looking at that I printed, but the excavator cut down through that, quite a bit down through, just to rid the water off so he could do what he was going to do that day. Probably wasn't the best choice for getting rid of the water, but from looking at this and looking at the area there, and am I correct that the bare dirt unlevel area there is the private property which we're speaking of? Correct?
Yeah, as a part of the construction plans, each individual home lot has to create a barrier silt fence perimeter. So it may be a foot or so inside the actual property line, but the silt fence will line out the property line itself.
To prevent exactly what,
Yeah, the whole idea of the silt fence is to keep any kind of erosion and sediment on that personal property as opposed to it shedding onto another's or into a pond, which is a waterway that ultimately feeds into our stormwater system.
so the violation here is really voiding the purpose of a silt fence. And now it's not only that, but lack of repairing, which is causing further erosion. So yeah,
Well,
I think it's a problem.
well, I would agree that we could put some seed out there.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if I were you, I would have done that about 4 or 5 months ago.
Well, it's really hard to get seeds to germinate in February. And so at the time that we repaired it, we brought the dirt up to grade. So we replaced all the dirt that was scraped out of there. And we also bought one of those nets that, retains seeds and so forth, and we put that there. So it appears that that product didn't work because probably.
Well, when's the last time you've been there?
I was there 2 days ago.
What'd you see?
Well, may I finish explaining to you the steps that we took? So we did put the netting with the seed in it out there, and we brought the dirt back up to the grade that it was at, and the silt fence was repaired. This was in the middle of winter. We had snow, we had ice, and the conditions were not such that seeds were going to germinate, even though we took every possible step that we could at that time in order to, get the conditions, to be exactly what they were prior to the concrete contractor doing this. So, as soon as the weather permitted and we could landscape, we did that, and we seeded and sodded that entire yard. This is the first time I'm seeing that particular spot from this vantage point to see that there's probably, an opportunity to seed that area. So of course we will do that. That is not visible from being in the house, so I don't know where that particular angle was taken, but when you're on the property looking out, it's not obvious to me that there's a big patch of dirt that needs to be repaired.
The only thing that I would add to that is the violation or the fine is not associated with the repair. It is
Right.
associated with the illicit discharge. Our ordinance allows us to fine $1,000 a day until it is repaired, so the $1,000 is in addition to the cost of the repair. I agree that it needs some work for stabilization, but the fine is not for the repair, it's for the violation of the illicit discharge. So the event that happened in the pictures that we looked at before. These here. So they tore down the fence and they cut a trench on private property to release their sediment and water.
Any licensed subcontractor that's insured knows that's a violation. So that's willful and intentional violation. So that's pretty clear to me.
Yeah, it's also very clearly defined in our stormwater ordinance as well as our construction standards.
And we're not arguing, you know, that we didn't do this. We know that it happened and we took responsibility and we did everything that we could. I am here on, you know, behalf of Haven Crest and the concrete contractor because ultimately we are asking them to be responsible for this. And so he has said, will you please see if there's any leniency? And, you know, so that's why we're here. We're not, you know, arguing that it didn't happen. We're just asking, you know, can we have some leniency?
Do you know how long the silt fence was compromised?
As far as I know, the silt fence was never put back up. I don't know, I don't have evidence or proof of that, but the only pictures I have are the event pictures and then the most recent pictures on April 29th.
Do you know if the silt fence was repaired or not?
I do know that there are two silt fences. One was put up by Langston, the developer, and the other was put up by Stacy's Excavating, which we asked them to put up silt fencing on the property that we were constructing on. So there were actually two silt fences. When I called Stacy's and asked them to repair the fence, I know that they repaired the one that we originally hired them to put in. I don't know if the second silt fence was repaired or not. I just don't remember. But I know that Stacy's did repair the one that was on our property. So now that I think about it, I think that second one was repaired as well, because that's where we put the netting in between the two fences, which was the area that, where he sort of scraped that trench out with his bucket. So I think the second one was repaired, but I'm pretty certain it was, but again, I don't have any pictures or anything, but I think Stacy's repaired theirs, and I don't know who Langston used to put in the other silt fence. I could find out from Stacy's exactly what happened if they repaired that.
I would suggest as a board member that we would reduce the fine to $750 and assess it.
Okay, do we want any stipulations on how long they have to do that and make the additional repair, or just leave it at that?
Well, if the final repairs have not been made, they need to be made in the next 30 days, I would suggest. Jeremy, would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree. If we don't do them very soon, we'll get into the dry summer months, and we have the same problem for stabilization. Yeah.
So I would move
I
that
will,
action.
I will second the mayor's motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And you will report back to us when the inspectors looked at that and to determine it has been remediated correctly?
Yeah, we will issue another, a second letter reducing the violation as well as the 30-day stipulation for the stabilization or the final repairs, and then at the next meeting, I should have an update for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for showing up.
Okay, so just to be clear, so the additional repairs that we're talking about is seeding that piece of dirt
Yep.
area? and
Leveling it and seeding it.
Okay, and then, if the developer, if there's still a silt fence there from the developer, that is to be intact, continue to be intact?
Correct. So the developer is responsible for their own silt fence to protect their ponds. Typically what happens is they will line the ponds after they stabilize the bank, and then when home builders come in, they just tee into those. So the home builder doesn't typically do the rear pond. They'll do the other three sides.
Okay,
But I don't know the status of their fence. I believe their silt fence was where the top of the green grass is. So it's likely already been removed because the banks are stabilized. But I don't know that for sure.
okay,
My only piece of advice is that you may want to install a blanket, which is that netting with straw in it, in order to keep your seed in place.
Okay,
because of the slope of the ground there.
okay.
All right,
Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
thanks.
Brings us on to action item number 3. Signing authority for land collective contract amendment.
First, I'd like to apologize, the document reflected on here is not the appropriate document. It was the previous one. So this action item is requesting the board grant me privilege to sign the land collective design contract amendment. So it went in 3 stages. The stage we're most recently in was in the design documentation stage. Coming from that, there was a few additions to the park, including a mechanical building and a theater building or a green room building. In order to take those through construction drawings, there's an additional fee proposal for $395,527. So I'm requesting that you all would grant me the authority to sign that once we get the contract documents in place.
I've been through this with the main money boss, who's aware of it.
Okay. I would make a motion to approve action item number 3.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I will get you that document.
Thank you.
On to action item number 4, solid waste recycle and yard waste collections disposal in the city of Westfield, Indiana, i.e. Ray's trash service contract.
Okay, so our trash collection throughout the city contract was up, so we went through the process of bidding and renewing that contract. This is, I'll let Kristen really answer any of your questions. The established rates are $11.32 per home per month, and then that will escalate through 2020 to $12.26. If you have any questions about that, I've got Kristen.
Who else bid on it?
No one bid it on it, actually. It was just renewed with Rays.
You,
Okay.
okay, so you renegotiated it.
Yes, with Rays.
And we're putting what, like right now, we put a administrative fee on it.
Yes,
What is that?
$3
Okay. Is that
per
adequate?
quarter. Yes.
Yes, Todd?
This conversation goes back into last year. We tried to encapsulate all the actual cost of service, including the billing activities that were previously subsidized by other utility funds, so that we have an accurate activity cost. This will sustain us over the term of this particular contract. We're good.
And it's for how long? 5 more years?
It's through 2020.
And it goes from what to what again? 11?
$11.32 this year, and then maxes out at $12.26 in 2020.
Service remains the same.
Mhm.
Move to accept, give you signing authority for the contract?
No, I believe
That's what it was worded?
you guys will sign
We'll
this.
sign that?
Board of Public Works will sign
We'll
this.
move, I'll move to accept this.
I will second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item number 4 carries.
Next one is the Westfield Boulevard Extension Stream Mitigation Contract. Basically, this is the road project that connects behind, just to the west of Target, with the new roundabout there at 151st. As part of that project, we've got a stream mitigation through here, just on the north side of Target. So this contract is basically a turnkey contract that mitigates the work that we're doing in that stream just to the east here at Cool Creek.
What are the specifics of the cost?
So what exactly happens, Phil?
Let me pull up these site plans.
Is this tree planting?
This is, hold on. show you a map. So this is the site at Cool Creek Park, and we worked on getting an easement through this property, but basically there is clearing, seed, put down some shrubs and some trees, so a little bit of everything.
On the county property.
Yes. And it's a permitting requirement when you do working streams, you have to mitigate and typically try to find a spot on site.
Because you're removing trees and,
In affecting a stream. And there was no good place on site, so it's common. I mean, Monon,
mhm.
we've done some work along the Monon.
So the park likes it.
It's a win-win. And this contract carries through post-construction, and they monitor the site to make sure, I forget how many years, I think it's 3 to 5 years, I forget what it is.
Like Mud
exactly.
Park.
Exactly, right.
So what are we approving here? The
You're
contract to
Yep,
do so?
The construction contract.
What's the dollar amount associated?
It's 3 separate payments, I believe. It's around $150,000.
So it's $150,000 worth of construction and mitigation as part of the Westfield Boulevard Extension
So
project.
it's all within your budget for this
within the budget
project.
for the
Who's the
project.
contractor?
This would be Cardinal. This is what they do, it's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are doing their work on for Mill Street.
Yes, I thought it sounded familiar.
They do really good work.
It's kind of a special thing.
It is, absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move to accept this mitigation contract.
I'll second that. All in favor of approving action item number 5, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to action item number 6, design supplemental agreement, State Road 32 to Ditch Road.
Gary?
Okay, this is a supplement of the existing contract with Butler Fairman Seifert, who actually designed Ditch Road and did some of the works out. This work is to design some intersection improvements on State Road 32, and then also to basically do a little bit of extra work heading south to 169th Street. Mostly resurfacing, ledge and leveling, and things like that. But this is for added turn lanes and things like that for the future State Road 32.
So a project we've been working on for a number of years now is the Ditch Road Extension Project, which takes ditch north of 32 that ties into Casey Road with a roundabout. This agreement includes design for an improvement of the intersection on the south side, as well as, so it'll have some turn lanes incorporated, and design for the potential of a signal here if NDOT chooses. And then the additional improvements that Gary was talking about was a repair and reconstruction, essentially, of this section of ditch road from 171st Street beyond the school down to 32.
And we're going to be working with NDOT to have them hopefully chip in funds for
I
the.
would certainly hope so, because they didn't chip in for that passing blister. $99,000.
So 99. So this is just the supplemental agreement for the design itself. All the project will be bid and construction contracts will come later on down the road.
When is that down the road? Is that this year?
The south leg, likely not. We've started negotiations with NDOT. It depends on utilities.
Is there still a flooding issue just south of 32 there?
And
Yes,
that'll
but
be
that,
rectified with the north project.
So the whole, you said just the south part, but I mean, is the north part bidding separately and earlier, or is this bid as all one
it
project?
depends on the timing. The north, the road project that you see right there, that's ready to go. So it's just really a matter of someone.
Yeah,
saying
so
let's bid.
our intention is, or at least our plan at this point is that we are working on getting funding together for this north piece, which will likely be TIF bonded. We need to make sure that we're confident of this alignment and how this will shake out down here before we go to construction. Our hope would be to bid the north piece, start construction up here with the roundabout, and then hopefully carry through with a separate construction contract, so it would look fluid
For the roadway,
for the south side, yeah.
for the south side?
Yeah, so the
The
whole-
south may be separate.
It may be a separate
Alright.
construction
That
contract.
Casey Acres, does it have access to the new road?
Yes.
It was actually designed for this to be the frontage, so they have a lot of really nice landscaping and things on this other side. So this is creating the front door that they designed for.
So if we wanted to close Casey Road south of there, we're okay.
Yep, and those are part of the discussions with NDOT to close this intersection here because it's a safety hazard.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's really bad. And cul-de-sac potentially here, and then abandon this piece, so that way the traffic is flowing this way, but we have to provide access to this house. But yeah, we'd like to eliminate that safety hazard there at Casey.
So does that house have access to both Casey Road and 32?
Yeah, they have a road cut.
Yep.
Okay,
For now.
yeah, got it. Okay.
So Gary, what's the dollar amount associated with this?
I think it was about 83,000.
So
$85,000.
this time we would
85.5.
ask for board approval to move forward with $85,500 worth of additional design work for the ditch road design contract.
So moved.
Second, all in favor of approving action item number 6, State Road 32 at Ditch Road, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On the consent agenda, we have documents, bond information documents. Do you need a review of those, sir?
These are our typical bond releases.
You okay with them?
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
he is.
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And I suppose, in looking a little further down, that the WPD vehicle replacement was also on that agenda. Were you aware of that, sir?
That's the one you've been asking about?
Yeah, back in March, we told Tahoe, so Regions Insurance basically are they tolling it, so the claim was for $26,995.41. So we're asking approval to use that money to purchase another vehicle, and we have picked out a 2016 Dodge Charger for $25,500. So we want to use the proceeds from the insurance for that purchase.
I thought you didn't like Chargers anymore.
Well, here's the issue. To replace the Tahoe with the current Tahoe, they've increased value to $34,000. So that's not including the equipment that goes with it. So in this respect, they priced us out of the game.
You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially, we've approved it on the consent agenda. I just didn't read down far enough, and I wanted to make sure that you were aware of what we voted on.
Well, I knew we lost one.
Okay, brings us on to department reports. Seeing no fire chief.
He's at the National Fire Academy.
All right, sounds like a good place to be. Chief Rush?
Yeah, other than what was submitted to you, I really don't have a lot today. Unless you have any questions for me. Keep it pretty busy. We do have an update on the issue that happened this weekend, if you want to hear that, with the little boy from the baseball. Our officers actually went down and met with the family and the child today at Rice.
They did?
We sent him a card and balloons and a couple of police patches, and he was actually up and walking around, so good news, and the family's very appreciative of the response, so it's all good news.
Good.
Okay.
Your people did a wonderful job.
Absolutely.
He saved that boy's life.
Okay. Public Works?
Since our last meeting, we're heavily into crack sealing, so our crew is out working in subdivisions. We have also contracted F.E. Harding to do a substantial amount of work for us. Their focus right now is going to be Centennial. Centennial is a very big subdivision that will take us a couple of years to finish, so we contracted that out. Those efforts are going well.
Have they begun?
They have begun. They begun earlier
Are they
this
using
week.
black?
They're using black, yes.
What else would you use, sir?
It was requested.
We've
Every now and then I get requests from ladies, persons in neighborhoods to use designer colors.
Okay, all right.
In addition to that, we completed a kind of a test radius improvement at 161st and Union, which incorporated a 2-foot shoulder of concrete. So as you know, when cars and big trucks try to turn corners, it kind of wallows out the radiuses. So we poured in concrete and then put riprap large stone behind it to create a makeshift rumble strip. So we installed that. We're keeping an eye on that to make sure it's going to perform like we want it to, and you might see that pop out throughout the city in a few different locations. Park maintenance, irrigation systems have been de-winterized, as well as the water fountains are up and functional. The baskets, flower baskets, have all been hung throughout the downtown area for the Westfield in Bloom. Landscape, roundabout landscaping. We are currently working on 3 different roundabouts that are all under construction right now. They're 156th and Spring Mill, 161st and Cary, and Wheeler and Grand Park Boulevard. Those are underway.
That tree up there looks silly.
Which tree?
The half a tree?
The tree that's on top of the dirt mountain at
I haven't seen it yet.
Grand Park Boulevard.
I don't know. We'll take a look at that and make sure that that's part of the permanent design.
Let me take a picture.
I'm gonna go look at it. So those all incorporate lighting as well as irrigation, so they're taking a little while, but they are gonna wrap up here in the coming weeks. Simon Moon restroom.
Yeah, what is not complete after 6 months?
The doors. So we repurposed some doors that we had in stock. They are not, we're unable to lock them. So we've ordered replacement doors so that we can secure the restroom. Otherwise it's complete and functional. Just without being able to secure it, we haven't moved forward with the opening, if you will. I know that people are actually using it, but they're doing it on their own accord. So
Without a door?
there's doors on there, they just won't lock. But they were using it before it was functional, so.
So an attempt to reuse material didn't quite work
An
out.
attempt to save $2,000 or $3,000 on doors didn't pan out. So we've got new doors coming in. They were back ordered. They should be here the end of the week or early next week, and then it's installation, and Chris's team will get the locks put in, and then we're ready to go.
Will there be a ribbon cutting for that?
There can be if you'd like to have one.
I've had about enough.
You've been in a lot of those.
Also an update that didn't make the agenda because it wasn't quite done yet. We have done an extensive amount of replumbing out at the splash park, as well as some a slab leak. So one of the fixtures was leaking underneath the concrete pad, so we got that fixed, and then we're creating a new tap so that way we have more water supply in an effort to make it all function better and be more reliable. So we've changed the valving system. Everything is pneumatically controlled now, just to prevent some problems. So it's on schedule to be grand opening this weekend. Should be wrapped up here the next day or so, and we'll do some tests. And then as we roll through projects, most of these are in about the same state as they were last month. Monon 6.
What about the one section of the Monon?
The Himes parcel is still currently under acquisition.
Well, I know all that. Where we're gonna pay it.
Phil, would you like to elaborate?
We'll see. It's undetermined yet. We wanna make sure we don't.
We want to make sure we don't jeopardize any federal funding that we have or already have received, so we're gonna.
What are they gonna do? Come out and pick up your asphalt?
They can come and call us to give them a check back for all the money that they've given us. But we're gonna avoid that, and we will get it, we'll get it done just as soon as we can. We got people on standby waiting. Lighting on that section of the trail is going up, so you'll see, that's gonna be the first section of Monon that we've lit. So a lot of the light fixtures are in, and they're closing out that project soon.
On that lighting, do you intend to light it from dusk to dawn, or will it be like,
That's the current plan.
is it?
Mill Street Extension is our new road that outlines the border of Grand Junction Plaza. It is well underway. If you've noticed, it's definitely changed. The look has changed out there quite substantially here in the last couple weeks. So that's moving forward. Pipes will start going in the ground soon, and plan on completing that later on this year.
Hard to believe.
It's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
And that will take care of the flooding issues downtown.
Yeah, yeah.
As amongst everything else that,
Yeah, as a part of that, there's a levee system and new bridge coming in that will prevent our blowout that we had a couple years ago. Westfield Boulevard extension, we talked a little bit about that earlier. That's utilities are being relocated. That project will hopefully let later on this summer, so we'll get that out to bid.
Good thing you got your buds in on the Midland Trail.
What? Are you picking apart my grammar?
No, just
spell check doesn't catch buds. No. I noticed that when I read through it, but
Buds have been.
Oh, but instead of minutes.
4.
Well, it's apparent I need a better secretary.
Oh. Talk about.
I
You
don't
would
have a
think.
secretary.
Smithers would,
Proofread for me. In her defense, she's not seen this unless she looked at it on the agenda and didn't tell me.
There are many other problems I've noticed while they're sitting.
Thank you for bringing that up.
I guess I need to start looking at it.
Midland Trail Section 4, that's been awarded, right? We did that last board. So that's under construction now, so that'll be wrapping up. That should be a fairly quick project.
that's the end of it that way, right?
Yep, that'll be the end of our property boundary on the east side.
so who's doing this?
Globe, I believe, Globe. They've done a pretty good job on it.
So they're ready to go.
Yep.
Yep.
No structures, just,
There's some small drainage pieces, but yeah, for the most part, it's paving.
do you have your DNR, you know,
I don't think we need a
the
permit. on that.
backwash?
Oh no, backwater. No, we don't have to deal with that
Just-
on this project, fortunately.
Just checking.
So those are our active projects. Happy to answer any questions you might have. And with that, we got nothing.
I actually read through all that. I made it all the way through it this time.
Can you
so
highlight
it's-
all my errors for me?
Just the buds really jumped out at me, but I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna call you out on the.
Spelled buds right.
Happens to me all the time, spell check. It's a word,
Yeah.
not the right word.
You need to get somebody to,
I know. Talk to Todd and let me hire some people.
what does she do?
She does everything else.
Typing up his stuff.
She refuses.
Alrighty then. Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
Move to adjourn.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.